Many anti-Israel protesters, many choose to stand with evil. They stand with Hamas. They stand with rapists and murderers. They stand with people who came into the kibbutzim, into a home. The parents hid the children, the two babies, in the attic, in a secret attic. They murder the families, the parents. They find the secret latch to the hidden attic, and then they murder the babies. These protesters stand with them. They should be ashamed of themselves.
And then, of course, we're saying that Netanyahu gets one of his many standing ovations from this bipartisan chamber. What he's saying there, though, along with dozens of other claims that he made, was a lie. Those babies were not murdered. There's only one baby that was killed on October 7th, and that was by a stray bullet. We actually don't even know who fired it. But even assuming it was Hamas or another Palestinian militant, all the other claims that Netanyahu put forward about about Israeli babies being killed were just lies. And rather than being called out for it, he was applauded for it.
Yeah, disgusting. And for those who are just listening and not watching, as Aaron said, that was a standing ovation, and there were many of those performed throughout the night. It was really disgusting. And what did the Democrats do? Well, some of them didn't clap. You had Chuck Schumer not shaking his hand, but nodding. You had some of them not coming, which I thought was a stupid decision because it made it look like the people there were supporting him. So it took away from the power of protest. But we had one Democrat who was brave enough to do something actually symbolically powerful. And that person is Rashida Tlaib, who had a fan that said war criminal, and she also wore a keffiyeh. And she was really the only person who expressed the appropriate contempt and disgust for Netanyahu. So shout out to Rashida Tlaib. The question is why there weren't more Democrats doing that. And when Democrats didn't show up, they're not there, so you don't see the people opposing him.
Yeah, a lot of Democrats went out of their way to release statements saying why I'm not coming to Netanyahu's speech, like from Bernie on down. But what does that accomplish to not show up? Okay, you're not there, so therefore you're not there to register your protest. And why is Rashida Tlaib, as you said, the only member of Congress willing to show up and actually challenge him and call him what he is, which is a war criminal? And it's unfair that the only Palestinian member of Congress has this burden on her shoulders, on top of all the other burdens she carries as being the only Palestinian member of Congress, that she's alone in being in the room and challenging Netanyahu. I mean, everybody else who boycotted the speech should have been there. To me, it was like a cowardly way of pretending to protest Netanyahu, but without actually having to do something and doing something that would get, have some political blowback. Because, of course, Israel supporters would have come back and attacked anybody like Rashida Tlaib who confronted Netanyahu. But it's worth it when you have a war criminal being welcomed to Congress. And it's unfortunate that Rashida Tlaib was the only one with the courage to confront him directly.
Right. Now, luckily, we do have some people besides me and Aaron who were appreciative of Rashida Tlaib. Let's take a look at this Code Pink video.
When we were watching Netanyahu giving his speech in Congress yesterday, we saw Rashida Tlaib with her sign saying war criminal. And we were so proud of her and her courage. But we also felt terrible that she was alone there. Nobody sitting by her. A one-woman show telling the truth to the world. And so today we were so excited to go and bring her flowers, bring her a thank you card, and just shower her with the love that millions of us in the U.S. and around the world feel. The whole world saw your courage and how much we appreciate you.
Oh, happy birthday to you. Oh, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
Thank you, sister. Thank you.
Happy birthday to you.
Making this even more symbolic and more powerful is the fact that this was Rashida Tlaib's birthday. So she was, again, the only person registering protest. She was holding up a fan that said war criminal, and also on the other side said guilty of genocide. And she bears so much responsibility and so much pressure and such a burden, and no one was there to share it with her. And that is why Democrats, except for Rashida Tlaib, suck. Now, we have another Democrat who really sucked this week, John Fetterman. People may have heard of him, may have seen him. He loves wearing hoodies and shorts. That's kind of his shtick. But guess what encouraged him to dress up in a suit for the first time ever? Let's take a look. Here he is listening to Netanyahu and wearing a suit, and Do Dissidents tweeted out, so he does own a suit. He just saves it for when Hitler comes to town. And by the way, there is Kirsten Sinema wearing a ridiculous outfit. I just had to comment on that. She kind of looks like a cupcake or something. And yeah, and then the only thing you have besides Rashida Tlaib, you have Chris Murphy and Alan Warnock sitting down, but that's really not enough. That's not sufficient.
You know, I don't like commenting on people's appearances, but I think when it's an elected lawmaker, we can make an exception because,
Sure,
you know, we pay their salary and they're there to represent us. It's so odd that two of the Senate's weirdest address people are both there together applauding Netanyahu. There's just something additionally symbolic about that because both these people have some really unique garb that they put on every day. I mean, John Fetterman takes the cake, and it is so funny that he's indeed willing to dress up for Netanyahu and not anything else.
Yeah, it's really pathetic. Like, that's the guy he comes out for, puts on a suit, gets dressed for. Remember that other video we showed of them? It was so pathetic. They're like standing next to each other when Fetterman visited Israel, and they're both going like this.
Yes. And Netanyahu called him. He said that you have, like, there's no stronger champion in the U.S. than John Fetterman of Israel. And if that's the case, that's all the more reason for Israel to do some serious soul searching if John Fetterman is the best you can do. For Republicans suck, let's turn back to Benjamin Netanyahu's speech before Congress. The guy who really made this happen, who really was excited to welcome Netanyahu, I think even more than John Fetterman was House Speaker Mike Johnson. Mr. So-called America First, who is always putting Israel first, and especially the most fanatical government Israel's ever had first in Benjamin Netanyahu. So Mike Johnson invited Netanyahu and also threatened to arrest any lawmaker who dared to disrupt Netanyahu's speech, as if Netanyahu was all of a sudden like the leader of the U.S. and not of Israel. And this is how Mike Johnson introduced Netanyahu.
Members of Congress, I now have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel. Thank you.
So you can see how giddy he was to introduce this bloodstained mass murderer, and even calling him His Excellency. It's just so humiliating. I don't know what it is that makes these people fall head over heels for Israel, but it's not just AIPAC money, and it's not just the Israeli role as a client state of Israel. In the case of people like Mike Johnson, who is an evangelical Christian, I do think there is something religious about this, where they really do see Israel as fulfilling the prophecy of their beliefs about, of course, one day there being Armageddon, and of course all the Jews that they claim to care about being slaughtered, except for those who convert. And they see Israel, I think understandably, as pushing them towards that apocalyptic future, because that's what Israel is doing. They're so deranged and criminal. So it's just such a bizarre display, especially for people who call themselves, adherents of America First, always putting Israel first, and even, kissing the feet of a foreign leader inside their own congressional chamber. It's really strange.
Yeah, because that is part of their America First vision. Their America First vision includes the rapture.
Rapture first.
Pretty scary. Well, rapture first. Yeah, exactly. They're rapture ready.
They're getting it with Netanyahu.